Good.
Several things happened to me that were funny when I was a student at East LA College and when I was an instructor at East LA College. When I was an instructor, I got certified to be a teacher when I didn't even qualify. It was done by the head of the department. At the time, it didn't seem funny, but I think it's funny, some of the things that go on in the administration. Then subsequently, when I was teaching, a student came to me that I knew, and he wanted to get named my class, and he probably wasn't even going to attend. At the time, I was nervous about that, but looking back, that seems to be funny to me. A guy wants to get named my class when he doesn't even enroll in it. Another thing that happened, when my class wasn't going to go, one of the instructors, or the football coach, offered to help me. In order to load up my class, he said he would send 5 or 10 football players to my class to make it go. And at the time, I was nervous about doing that. And now I look back and that was funny. But the funniest thing that happened to me, when I was going to school, East LA College, and I saw Clyde Johnson on the corner. He was a football coach. Offered him a ride, and it was funny, him sitting in the car, because he stood 6'6.5", 265, and I had a little coupe. His head hit the ceiling. His knees were above the dashboard. It was like a big gorilla in my little car. So here's what happened. When I was a student, like I said, excuse me, driving down to East LA College, I see Cliff Johnson in the corner. So I offered him a ride. He got in my car. I dropped him off. They later on, excuse me, after I graduated from East LA College and USC, had taken several courses at USC, graduate courses at USC and at UCLA. And then I found a fantastic course at UCLA called Semiconductor Switching Circuits. But I was reluctant to take it because the year before, I had the worst instructor I ever had at UCLA. But I took this class and it was fantastic. It was taught by a guy named Rodriguez, and he knew at the time there wasn't any good book in the country worth using. So what he would do, he'd bring documentation from the IEEE on Ebers and Moll's equation, which defined the speed of a semiconductor switching. He talked about a Schmidt trigger, which combined analog and digital circuits, as well as the speed of the circuit. I was like a kid in a candy store. I took that course and I massaged it and I presented it to the head of my department. And he was more ecstatic than I was because it would be a feather in his cap. He says, Tony, what kind of credential do you have? I said, I don't have no credential. He says, no problem. I get you a temporary credential as long as you've been out of college for 5 years. I'd only been out 4 years. He says, I'll take care of it. He got me a temporary credential. And then sometime later, I was coming back from the office and I was short 2 students. Clyde Johnson was sitting there directing traffic at a little desk on a little table in a big walkway between buildings. He yelled out, Tony, how you doing? I said, Coach, not too well. My class may not go. Once they learn about it, it'll be the most popular class in the school. He looks to his left, he looks to his right, and he whispers to me, Tony, I can help you. How's that, Coach? He says, just tell me and I'll send 5 or 10 of my football players to enroll in your class. Looking back, that was comical, seeing 5 or 10 football players had no business in my class when they didn't even know the difference between an AC circuit or a DC circuit. Then later on, Joe Minatonis came to me. He and his brother were outstanding baseball players at Roosevelt High School. And he wanted to go to UCLA and join his brother to play baseball. So he comes to me, Tony, I need a higher GPA to get into UCLA. If I take your class, will you give me an A? It stopped me cold. Fortunately, he went another route. Conrad Minatonis, his younger brother, was outstanding. He was the captain of the UCLA baseball team. He's in the Hall of Fame at UCLA. and he was the first Latino drafted by the LA Dodgers once they moved to Los Angeles. Those are some of the funny things I experienced as a student, as an instructor at East LA College. The funniest one of them was seeing Clyde Johnson in my little 2-passenger sports car. He was 6'6" and a half, 265, played in the early 40s, in an era when the average lineman was only 6 foot, 200 pounds. He was a giant. Those are some of the funny things that happened to me when I was a student and when I was instructor at East LA College. Mr. Toastmaster.